So Tereza is from Czech Republic. You studied informatics. And as a lot of people, you started using LaTeX for academic projects. And now you're using it to typeset books, as far as I understood. But you switched to Markdown as an input format. And I guess you will explain us your choice. So Tereza, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Well, so hello, my name is Tereza Vrabcová, and I'm from the Masaryk University in the Czech Republic. And today I'll be doing a gentle introduction to Markdown. This is mainly for writers, which ties into what just was just saying. This is going to be gentle, so nothing too advanced, hopefully, so people do not have to know what Markdown is, because I will explain now. Markdown is a light-up markup language developed in 2004 by John Gruber. The main idea is that even though we have plain text, the document is still easy to read, and that's an extension easy to write. And we can see what is title, what is paragraph, what is emphasized, and so on. Why I'm here for this, presenting this, is mainly because when I write in LaTeX or TeX, one of the main problems is that I spend way too much time formatting the text to my exact liking. So here I am introducing Markdown as an alternative when you just want to write in the beginning and then format later, or have someone else to do the formatting for you, but still it be neat and easy to understand. Okay, this is what we are going to. This is what we'll be going through: some basic syntax, a little taste of the extended syntax, and how can we convert this format into another different output formats. Before I go to the basic syntax, I need to make things unambiguous, because in 2004, when Mr. Gruber made the definition of Markdown, there was some ambiguous definition, so different implementations may have different outputs. I will be outputs presented in this part will be mainly in accordance to Common Mark, which is a standard syntax specification for Markdown, which was proposed in 2014. And its main goal was to remove the ambiguity from the definitions of elements. For each element, I will be showing a way to do it, a way to use it. Not every way, because there are some elements may have multiple ways of being written, but the output will be still the same. The elements of this are usually divided into two groups. We have basic syntax, which are elements that are part of the Gruber's description and are supported in all Markdown implementation in some way. And then the extended syntax, which are elements that have been added because they are useful features that, because they were not in the initial description, some implementations might not have it, and some implementation may go about it differently. And because this is a gentle introduction, I will be going over the basic syntax only. Because if I were to go over every extended syntax and which implementations have it, we would be here until the end of the time. So, going through the basic syntax, we will start with plain text, because it's a main building block of the document. It's just words without any formatting or any division. Plain text is good, but the problem that without formatting, the text is plain. And if you write a lot without any formatting at all, you will be just reading a wall of text. And despite what some people on the internet may believe, that's not very inviting to read, so people will most likely skip it. So let's look at example. Or I will be showing you the implementations within the story because this is for writers. We have our writer. This is Mark. One thing you need to know about Mark is that he likes geese, like a lot, especially the Canadian ones, the ones with the bad reputation of being aggressive. He also is very short-tempered, and this is where our story begins. He has received an email from his friend talking about this and that, and then his friend talked about the Canadian geese and how they are aggressive. So Mark, in a fit of rage, started writing his rant. It's pure stream of consciousness. There is nothing, no formatting in sight, but he writes it fast and writes what he thinks. As he finishes writing it, he calms down a little and he sees that it's just a wall of text. So his friend wouldn't be very interested in reading it. First, what he needs to do is divide it into easier chunks to digest. We have paragraphs and line breaks. Paragraphs are used mainly for the better readability because we have one paragraph, one idea is the general consensus what is a good writing advice. We split the paragraphs by adding a blank line between them. The line may be just empty or it may consist only of spaces. If we want to just do a line break, we want to go one row down, but we don't want to escape the paragraph. We do a line break, which is we add 2 spaces at the end of the line we want to break. So Mark looked at this wall of text, and then he decided to split it up for easier read. As he looks at it some more, he thinks to himself, there's a problem with plain text that when you don't have a lot of context and tone of the message gets lost when you only have the plain text. So he decides to put emphasis to important parts. To draw eyes to the specific word or phrase, to change the word stress, we have 3 emphases we can use. We have the emphasis, which is commonly rendered as italics. It's denoted by simple asterisks at both sides of the phrase. Or we have strong emphasis, which is denoted by 2 asterisks at each side. It's rendered as bold. And we can also have strong and emphasis, which is 3 asterisks at each side, and it's bold and italics. For emphasis, we need to keep in mind that the phrase cannot start nor end with white space, because when you emphasize silence, it's still just silence. So it's better to start. You need to start with a readable character. If we want to use a literal asterisk, then we can escape it by using backslash and then the symbol asterisk. And this is just, I will not be talking about much more, but emphasis is not the only element which uses asterisks. So be careful when you are writing it, if at the beginning or if you're adding the space. So we will be discussing this later. So, to remove any ambiguity of what is important to Mark, he started adding emphasis to words. For example, like "how dare you," and that some things that should catch the reader's eye. As Mark was going through the email, the text, and was adding emphasis to things he found very important, he figured to himself, it's just stream of consciousness. It doesn't have structure. And so he sat down to create a structure of his email. He wrote a list of important things which should be in the email. Talking generally about lists, there are 2 types. We have unordered, which is just a bullet list of items, and ordered, we have a numbered list of items if we want to add, like this comes first, this comes second. Ordered list can start with 0, but it starts with 0 or with a positive number. It cannot start with negative numbers that will not render. For lists, we need to keep in mind that lists can be nested. For each level of nesting, we need to add 4 spaces or tab space for the nesting level. So if we have nesting level of level 3, so it's a list of list of list, we need to have 8 spaces. The bullet or number of period must be followed by 1 to 4 spaces. Because why is that? Later, it cannot be more than 4. And we have 3 types of bullets we can choose for the unloaded list. We have plus, we have minus or dash or asterisk. They can be interchangeable, so it's basically up to if you're a more positive or negative person. So which bullet do you want to use? It's up to you. And even as we were talking before about paragraphs, that even if we have 2 lists separated by blank lines, they will be combined into 1 list. So Mark thought up what things he wants to write about in his email, and added also subpoints. And then he ordered them so to have the clear outline what to do. First, he tried to writing it in place, the numbering of the characters, but he ran into a problem that ordered list starts with the number of the first item, and then it increments by 1 for every item in this list. So he needs to reorganize it first to make it not do that. As Mark looks at his content outline, he thought up way too much for just a simple email. So he starts to write an article about Canadian geese and why they are important and cuddly and lovable. This is a big article, so he needs to add more bigger article. So he needs to make sure that the readers, his friend or otherwise, need to be able to navigate it easily. So we are adding headings. Headings are a great way to navigate the document and easily understand its structure. We have 6 levels of heading. This is due to the fact that it was inspired by number of headings in HTMLs, and it's the maximum number you usually need in academic papers. If you think you need more than 6 levels of headings, you probably don't, so it's better if you don't do it. Topmost level heading is denoted by 1. It's the let's call it hashtag. To the lowest level, which is denoted by 6 hashtags in a row. This type of heading is only a single line. It cannot be multi-lines, but for first and second level heading, we have ability to do multi-line headings. For the first level, we simply redo the line, then do the line break, another text, and then we end it after all the text for the heading. We add 3 or more. This is equal signs, which denotes it to be a heading of first level. Second level heading, we do the same, but instead of equal signs, we use 3 or more dashes. Things to keep in mind with headings: the heading with the hashtag must be followed by at least 1 space, because if we don't do a space and write the text right next to it, it will become a hashtag like on Twitter or stuff. But it will not be it won't be a heading anymore. And for the alternative heading with multiple lines, we cannot have an empty line between the text of the heading and the denoter of the heading for the level heading, because there are some different elements that it will change into a different element more on the later. Mark, when he thought up the list, he started creating the titles of the parts, and he's pretty happy with it. Now we will go towards the specific section is how to import views. We are talking about code because Mark had some troubles importing live views from Canada, so he could only import it as a program. Code is not for only for coding enthusiasts. We denote line as a code. We use backticks on both sides or both ends of the line. And to have multiple lines of code in basic syntax, we indent each line by at least 4 spaces. So this is an example of what it looks like. So he has that from Canada, he imports Goose as a pet. And if Mark is in Canada, in country it's Canada, he adopts the pet. So the examples of the codes he would have if he wanted. So Mark he's finished with writing the article. So now he needs to create introduction stuff. First, Mark wants if you want to add citations or do a style reminiscent of chats on Reddit and such, you can do block quotes. Each quote is preceded by the greater than sign, and these block quotes can be nested with other elements. But we need to keep in mind that it can be nested with other elements. So if we add more than 4 spaces in a row, it invokes the code block, and that should be only if we really want it. Block quotes can be multi-line, and we can do also paragraphs in multiple paragraphs in block quotes. But for a new line, for a new paragraph, we need to have one empty block quote in the specific level to separate them fully. Otherwise, it will just it will append to the previous line. This is an example from Mark's article that from Emojipedia that this year the goose emoji was scheduled as a candidate for becoming an emoji in Unicode. And if it passes this year, next year it will be available to the great populace. Now Mark has written the article, so he needs to do something that will catch the reader's eye before they even click on it. Images are a great visual aid to enlighten us what we are about to read or what we are reading. It's denoted by, we have an exclamation point, brackets, and then normal brackets. We have an alternative text, which is displayed in case the image is not able to be loaded. And then we have the link of the image, hyperlink. When it is from a local source, it can be relative path. Otherwise, it needs to be, it can be a URL as well. So we are adding a thematic break. If we want to separate content on a page, it's a rule which can be created by if we add 3 or more asterisks on a line in a row, or 3 dashes or 3 underscores. But this is why we must keep in mind with the alternative headings. Multi-line heading one is 1 blank line away from horizontal rule, so we need to be careful. And both elements can have up to 3 leading spaces, otherwise it invokes the code element as well. Then we have heading, which the readers, before they click on it, will see. I'm very happy about it. Last one, if he needs to add, we need to have links, so we can show this is for, like, for example, bibliography or for resources. And this is useful that a reader will only have to click on to access the data and will not have to write it out in full if it's online. Of course, it's similar to image element because image is just a subset of this type. We have the alternative text, then the link to be clicked, and the link title, which is useful if you want to know the title. The link to be clicked can My apologies. There's been some disturbance in the pause. It's useful when we want to use the same link multiple times. We just need to do in the brackets the alternative text, and then it will show. And this, we have the story of Mark. This takes us to Mark's friend, Mbox, who is getting really worried because it's been about 3 days since his friend written a text. He written some email to his friend, but haven't heard from him since. And now he gets a message where Mark writes him, "Hi, I'm still alive. Here's the link to the article I wrote about the email he wrote me. See you later." These are the basic syntactic rules of Markdown. Now, I will not go through the extended ones, but just to have examples, we can have a strike through. We can have syntax highlighting in a coded fence, which basically means we don't have to use the 4 or more spaces to denote it's a code block. Some may have footnotes, some may have pipe tables, or some make task lists as well. We have moved through the syntactic elements. Now we will see how can we transform or convert the Markdown document into something like a PDF or an HTML. I will be talking about 2 possible ways. We have a Markdown package in LaTeX, which is useful because we can switch between LaTeX and Markdown if we so desire. Typesetting mathematical formulas in Markdown is impossible. And then we also have Pandoc, which offers a large number of formats to convert to and from. It's in tens of possible formats to choose from. So this is more what to do and how to install. For the Markdown package, it's part of TUG Live, so we just need to install the TUG Live to use it. If we are on Windows, we just download the executable file from cten mirror, and then we run the install executable and profit. This takes about an hour and a half. It depends on how near to you is the certain mirror. I've seen horror stories that it might sometimes take up to 17 hours. That's just looking at the very far away mirror, so people should move, try to find a closer one. If you're looking for installation on Linux of TUG Live, we have a few more steps to go through. First, we will go to the working directory where we want to set up, where we want to install TUG Live, and we do vget. From the address, we download the file. Then we do the zcat, which allows us to view an uncompressed file without uncompressing it. So we can see if it's really what we wanted. And then tar, we run where we can extract the contents of the archive. X denotes that we are extracting, and F, we are passing the file name of the archive file. Then we move to the newly extracted directory and run the installer. It's Perl. We don't have to use the no interaction option. If we do not edit, it will drop us into an interactive installation module menu. And we may choose other options for the installation other than default. We can also change here the default size of paper. This is mostly for people who don't use A4. That's the default, but you can change it to letter paper by adding option paper letter. And then the last thing, we need to prepend the TUG Live binary directory to our path. Just add it, and then we can use it as we please. This was to use the Markdown package. Now to use the Pandoc package. On Windows, again, it's quite simple. We download the installer, and we run the installer, and it's installed, and we are happy. For people who want to be more on the terminal, even though it's Windows, we have alternative package managers that can be used, for example, Chocolatey or Wingit. We just do Choco or Wingit install Pandoc, and it's installed. By using this, probably better if people use just one method at a time, because we may end up with different separate Pandoc installations otherwise, and that can get messy. We want to, if they are, for example, different versions, and you will be, you cannot figure out why is it not, why doesn't it work if it's not in this version, but it's in this version. For Linux, again, it's a few more steps. We download the file, download the archive, and then we install the package. We have R, which is also extract the contents of the archive. We are extracting the files, so we do X. V shows us verbosely that all files we are processing. Z, the archive is filtered. We have by the tool to decompress the archive, and then we pass the file name to the archive file. Just to explain, TGS is here a terminal we have created a variable, which is the absolute path to the downloaded file. It's just so we don't have to write it out all the time. So if we're in the wget in the temporary directory, that the variable would be equal to temporary directory and then the archive we have downloaded. We then strip components. We strip just one component, which is the topmost directory. So we are preserving the structure of the archive. And then we have the LC, which is we show we change the current working directory, and so we extract the files into the new directory, which is our destination. So we have installed one or the other, and so how do they compare? We have downloaded a shorter version of Mark's article. The file is called the Goose article. It looks like this. We have this title, and I have added name of the author in italics. And we move on. If we want to typeset it in LaTeX, we do the classic. We have the classic starting LaTeX document, and then we just need to add use package Markdown. We may also add some metadata if we want, and then in begin document we begin the Markdown environment, and we just need to do Markdown input and the name of the file which we want to typeset in Markdown. That's all for this example. And if we have example in Pandoc, it's even easier. We don't have to change it either at all, or we can do YAML. We can add some metadata at the beginning, and these will typeset at the beginning of the document. Just the same. So, and to typeset them, you're having typesetting it with LaTeX. We do LaTeX MX, MK. I have chosen low LaTeX, but it can be LaTeX, PDF LaTeX, or GetTeX. And I am using the Goose article that I was showing earlier. And or if we have Pandoc, we run Pandoc, put in the input file, which in this case is Goose article MD, and the name of the output file, which we want to make it PDF. So we have Goose article PDF. Now, let's see what it looks like. We have here comparison side by side, so we know it doesn't look the same. For example, for the metadata, it typesets at the beginning, but and on the left is LaTeX, on the right is Pandoc. So we are clear. In LaTeX, we can also see that the names of sections and subsections are numbered, which is different to Pandoc. Also, if we want to add, if you are adding a link, then in LaTeX is added as a footnote. However, in Pandoc, it's how it is. It's not visible. So if it's printed, the link gets lost. Also, interesting thing in Pandoc, evidently doesn't know what block quotes are. So that's a problematic. It doesn't render wherever you see. You need to. It's either will need to add use a specific version of Markdown for Pandoc. I don't know if it was removed or is it just a problem with the input I have done. Back. Okay, so I've shown you the basic syntax, the extended syntax, and now we have seen how to convert the files. Just some further readings if you want to check it out some more. I have talked mainly about how to do the markings. I haven't talked about the formatting and the stylings, because that's the idea is that it can be done after or by someone who's more apt at it than the writer is. So if you want to look at how it works with Pandoc, or what are the extended syntax possibilities, we can check it out on the Pandoc website. The Markdown package is available on GitHub. It's a vertical Markdown package. Looking for the basic syntax again, I was going through the Common Mark specifications, and also you can try it out with the Common Mark JavaScript parser. If you got a little lost with the installation of Tech Live, it's possible to find it on the Webpack website. Well, there's a how-to for quick installation. And if you got lost at the first few slides, you can also read through the first, like the earliest description by John Gruber on his website, Daring Fireball, from 2004. Thank you for your attention. This is my presentation concluded.
Thank you very much, Tereza, for this really extensive tutorial about Markdown. That was really interesting. Yes, Sam Carter, do you want to talk?
Oh, if I just may, the lines of the multi-line headings were unevenly spaced. I was just doing it so we could see that there's a possibility of making multi-line headings. It was not how it's supposed to be correctly done.
You're answering to Barbara. So
yes, I don't know.
Read her question.
The lines of multi-line headings are unevenly spaced vertically. How can this be fixed? This is mostly a question about implementation. I'm not sure at the moment. It will be. Yes, I don't know at the moment. I apologize.
How easy is it to write a style sheet to adapt the style to your need? Is it something that someone can do after 1 hour of practicing?
What do you mean? Style sheet, like formatting, or?
Well, yes, formatting, yes.
Well, the formatting, when I was trying to create the formatting for like the publishing quarters, it took hours.
Okay.
It may be a little, because you're working on the back end of whatever you are using to typeset it. For example, with the Markdown package, I was using LaTeX. So, and there, like, some people may understand there's a steep learning curve to LaTeX. So something may take you just 5 minutes, but for me, someone else it may take 2 hours. So the base premise of using Markdown this way is to divide the need to format it as you go. Just I need this is a heading. This is normal text. I want this to be emphasized. I don't know why. I don't know how. That we may then have someone else who is much more able to do it faster.
Yes, I think that's a nice format for, as you say, a writer who doesn't want to bother with anything. He can just write and someone else will do the formatting. While in LaTeX is a bit more impressive form, a writer, because there's all those backslashes and those curly brackets. And how many writers did you convert to Markdown?
Well, the thing is that my project for the publishing collaterals is I was working with in collaboration with Mr. Prentice. He had a presentation here, I think today or yesterday. Lloyd Prentice.
Yes.
I was working with him on the project of creating the templates to typeset publishing collaterals in LaTeX using Markdown.
Okay, great.
So at least one. At least one.
He was really enthusiastic. There is a joke from Sam Carter in the chat.
Yes,
I will copy the URL.
There's about my itemization that duck bad because it's a bad omen. It's often used as a warning when you need to duck, and also duck face. I don't think I can talk about duck face.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions or remarks or anything? So, Tereza, thank you again for this this tutorial. I think Markdown is really a powerful format when you just want to take notes. And I will try your two pipelines to convert it to PDF and see how it can be used in addition to LaTeX.
Well, thank you very much for the consideration and thank you for having me. It was nerve-wracking.